Good morning, everybody. It's really a great pleasure to be here with you today. Let me start with a short reading by Marjorie Welsh. A fact is information minus emotion, and opinion is information plus experience. Ignorance is an opinion lacking information, and stupidity is an opinion that ignores a fact. Let me start by thanking Shannon and Chris and Jason for helping this morning and for inviting me to be here to this, what is a really very sweet church. It's a very thoughtful service, I think, from Tom Paxton to Ira B. Wells to Carter Reads the News. I can see you spend a lot of time thinking about it, and it really means a lot to me. And I really very much appreciate this entire congregation taking a Sunday to consider the importance of free press to our democracy. It definitely is something that we often take for granted. Yesterday at the farmers market was the first, what I hope will be annual Civics Day. And these two things together on this weekend have really made it a very important weekend for me and for all of us, I think. And on Tuesday, we have the National Night Out at the borough office. And that's another very important annual community event that we have that brings people together, particularly with the police department. So I feel a little bit like I'm at home here because when I was in high school, I attended a Unitarian church, and a couple of careers ago, I spent a few years playing the pipe organ for a Unitarian congregation in Kingston, Massachusetts. So I think I understand where you guys are all coming from and what you're doing, and I appreciate your approach to community and to caring. As Chris pointed out, since my organ playing days in the 1980s, I've had another career as a professor of psychology at the University of Maryland, where I taught and I wrote research articles and textbooks. And then I ended up here with my wife, Leslie, in Adams County as a retiree, permanently as a retiree 4 years ago. But it turned out that my habit of writing was not something that I could really let go of that easily. And I first got a job as a stringer for the Gettysburg Times. And you know what a small town you live in when someone with zero journalistic experience like me can apply for the job at the newspaper on Monday and find themselves on the front page above the fold on Wednesday. And from then on, I just fell in love with local news. I think it's so important. Eventually, I stopped writing for the Times and I started Gettysburg Connection in 2018. It started simply as an events calendar. A lot of people said, well, we have all these different calendars, but we need somebody to kind of organize into one, so we're not always scheduling our events on top of each other, and that seemed important, so I did that. And then I did a few podcasts, and then it kind of just grew into the website that it is today. And it's really a crazy idea in a way, but it's turned out to be another career for me, and I really enjoy it. I've gotten to know a lot of people. I get invited to things like this. I've learned a lot of new skills. And really, I've had a lot of fun, and I hope I'm making a difference for our community that I care a lot about. I'm still new to the news business, and I'm still new to Adams County. As I walk around town, I often run into people who know a lot more about the news than I do. And I also run into people who know a lot more about Adams County than I do. So I really very much appreciate advice and comments from everybody and anybody, anytime. I think some of you know about Gettysburg Connection, and if you do, you'll know that we are all about community. Our mission is to provide free online news for all of Gettysburg and Adams County residents. We share over 600 trustworthy news articles every year in about 20 different interest categories, and we have about 20,000 readers on our site every month. Our news is mostly local, but we share a smattering of state and national news as well. And we send our newsletter, Gettysburg Go, to almost 3,000 people every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday mornings. We give a regular Outstanding Community Contributor Award to people who have made a difference in the county. We run a photography contest and an Adams County Explorers Trivia Contest. We try to keep an honest and a fair take on the news that can be enjoyed and be informative to everybody in the county. We publish obituaries, they're always free, as well as real estate transfers and much more. So it's an interesting time for the news business. Since 2004, about 1,800 local newspapers in the United States have gone out of business, and about 1/2 of the reporters in the country have lost their jobs. Nearly 90 papers shut down just during the pandemic. Others have reduced the number of days they publish and the number of stories they cover. And the loss is created in part because big corporations are buying up newspapers and squeezing them dry, and because social media has become so dominant in so many people's lives. But all this change has also created a real opportunity for small news startups like Gettysburg Connection, who work on small budgets to make a big difference. I belong to a group of about 400 of these local organizations around the United States and Canada, some of which are working at a national level, but many are working hyper-locally in small communities, each doing something similar to what I'm trying to do for Adams County. And we all believe that local news is essential because it fosters debate, it connects community members, and it creates social change. But a major challenge of all of these sites, like all news outlets, is sustainability. We want to be sure that we can keep bringing you news in the days and years to come. And sustainability comes in really 3 overlapping challenges. One is a financial challenge, one is an outreach challenge, and one is a community engagement challenge. So let me just talk briefly about each of those. Financially, we keep our costs low, mostly by doing everything that we possibly can in-house. I do pay myself a small salary, and I pay a number of writers and an editor. We also work with many Gettysburg College students as interns, and they are really, truly amazing. And it's so heartening to see how many of them, so many of them, are really interested in journalism. They're all interested in climate and environment and journalism. Those seem to be the 3 things that they care about. But we also have, of course, all the expenses that any business has. We get our financial support from what's now about 200 individual members, including many people, or some people in this congregation, and I really appreciate all of your support. I would name some names, but I'm afraid I wouldn't name everybody. So we just had our midsummer fundraising drive where we brought on about 40 new members, and that's huge for us because we know that those people really care about what we do, but you can join us at any time of year. We follow a public radio model. Our news is free for everybody, but we understand that not everybody can afford to pay. So we ask readers who can pay to contribute what they can as part of their civic responsibility to support local news. We also have a group of local for-profit and nonprofit sponsors who join with us because they care about our work, but also we help them share their mission on our website and on our newsletters. And we try to keep these sponsorships reasonably priced. And we treat these organizations as part of our mission as we share their stories, what they do for our community. We also have a small group of partners. These are donors who are part of our informal advisory board, contribute annually toward our mission, and I go to them when I have questions or need information. They've been super helpful. So if you care about local news, I mean, I think the title of my talk was Local News, Use It or Lose It. If you care about local news, I really encourage you to support it because advertising funds are disappearing rapidly and papers are relying almost entirely more and more on member contributions, reader contributions. Subscribe to the Gettysburg Times, become a member of Gettysburg Connection. It makes a real difference. And again, many people here have been supporters, and they can tell you what it means to them. And I can tell you it means a lot to me. A second challenge is to expand our footprint so that we can reach everybody in the county. This is a big county of 100,000 people. And Gettysburg is one small island in a sea of a different population, as you well know. We have a poor and elderly population that we try to reach out to with health, housing, and financial related information, but it's tough to do. We work every day to try to expand our footprint to reach everybody. We're not just about Gettysburg, and we work to reach out. We also have a big population of Hispanic residents. It's really kind of hard to measure the exact number, but it's at least 7,000 and maybe as many as 10,000 who don't get who deserve the news that we have and the information that we have, but they don't get it the same way that we do. They often don't have a computer. They might not have internet. So to reach this population, we've reached out to local grassroots organizations, particularly Manos Unidas and Healthy Adams County, to create a text messaging program called Pasa la Voz, which means spread the word, to reach this community, because people might not have computers, they might not have internet, but pretty much everybody has a cell phone and uses text. And it's been successful. We've had some real wins. We've matched women up with free mammograms. We've shared information about legal and immigration issues. And we recently placed a school board member on a school board. And that was huge for us because I think Michael Grimm, who's now on the Upper Adams School Board, found out about the position through Pasa la Voz, and she's now a representative of the Hispanic community on that board that has about, not sure, it may be 50% Hispanic. There's a lot of Hispanic kids in that school district. So we're trying to reach out. Every day I work on that to increase the footprint. And then the third thing, which in a way is the most important to me, is what I call an interaction challenge. And that is, I don't want Gettysburg Connection to just be one way. You know, I send you news and then don't hear back from you. There's a lot of metrics you can use to, say, how well are we doing? You can look at, the number of page views. You can look at, our subscriptions and our email newsletter sizes. But to me, one of the most important ones is, how often do I hear back from you? How many letters to the editor do I get? How many comments on our news stories do I get? Because to me, that really means that people are paying attention, they're reading, they're listening, and enough that they come back to us. So I'm encouraging you, if you can, to send us a letter, to leave comments on our site, participate in our contests. Those are the things that, for me, are really important, because it means that it's really, we're really succeeding at creating community. And remember, when you share something on Facebook, it only goes to a small fraction of your close friends. But if you share that same thought with Gettysburg Connection, we'll send it to people around the entire community. We can't write about it if we don't know about it. So if you know a story we should be covering, please tell us about it. If you know someone who's made a difference, please nominate them for our Outstanding Community Contributor Award. Gettysburg Connection exists not because of us, really, but because of you. So I really encourage you to reach out to us. We're always open, and I know many of you have already done that. So it's clearly a tough time now. People from around the world and around the United States, from all sides of the political spectrum, are experiencing what really is, it's not the same as it was a decade ago or even 5 years ago. So many things change so quickly. We have inflation, we have racial disparities that just keep getting bigger and bigger. We have a rush of gun violence, a war in Europe, global retreat from the principles of democracy. And of course, we have climate change. And I don't really need to tell you about it, because we all live it every day, but honestly, it really is scary. And we often think about these concerns at the national level when we read the national media, but As I tell our interns over and over again, most national stories also play out at the local level. It's been advised, of course, to think globally and act locally, and more I've come to understand the importance of that concept, that advice. So when we read about unwarranted police violence, particularly toward the marginalized around the country, we all know about that, but how much do you know about police policies here in Adams County? How are the police trained here to avoid making mistakes? We believe these are important questions, which is why we're writing about them. You know about the recent Supreme Court decisions on abortion, but how much do you know about availability of abortion in Adams County? We believe this is an important question, and that's why we're writing about it. We see school shootings around the nation, but what are local school systems doing to protect their students? We think this is an important question, and that's why we're writing about it. And I could go on because there's many important stories we can tell, stories that make a difference, and that's our job. So I'd like to ask you all to think about your own personal missions for a minute. What are your concerns and how do they play out locally? Do you have a mission to increase communication among people? Do you have a mission to promote truth and honesty? Do you have a mission to reach out to the underrepresented? Do you have a mission to enhance equity? Do you have a mission to reduce violence? What other missions do you have? And I'm here to say that each of these missions can be accomplished. It just takes really, really hard work. Sometimes I feel like we boomers are turning into doomers. We're aware of the problems, but they are so massive that we just give up. And I certainly feel like that some of the time too. What can I do anyway? But I'd rather see us turn into doers rather than doomers. I think often about how our generation made a difference in the 60s on civil rights, on women's rights, on unjust wars, on gender freedom, and so much more. Yes, we did that. We made a difference, and now it's time for us to do that again. It's not a time for doom. It's a time for optimism. It's a time for faith. It's a time for forgiveness. It's a time for reaching out to others. And it's a time for remembering how lucky we really are to be alive. So as your service reminds us today, public opinion changes through a dynamic and lively free press. The so-called Fourth Estate, embedded in the free press clause of the First Amendment to our Constitution, is part of what makes democracy a democracy. So I'm asking for your help to help local media to do its job by reporting on and framing issues that affect us all. You have a lifetime of experience, and there's no substitute for that. And I encourage you to contribute to local media and to make it. I'm asking for your help to support us, contribute your time, your thoughts, your actions. They're important to me, they're important to the community. Our mission overlaps with yours, and I think together we can help each other reduce the despair that we all experience. I'm open to all ideas, and I'd like to hear from you. And I'll leave a sign-up sheet for our newsletter somewhere if you'd like to sign up. Thank you very much for having me here. It's really a great pleasure.